Hello everyone and welcome to Flawless, a music podcast. My name is Liam and I'm here with my co-host Grant.
Hello there, music fans.
And George.
Hello there, Team Music.
Team Music, fist in the air. Each episode of Flawless, a host or a guest nominates an album that they think is flawless, and we discuss how they discovered it, what they love about it, and what makes it flawless for them. We have a Facebook group. It's called Flawless Friends and Family, and it's where we discuss all things music that we love and that you love, and we post in there about upcoming episodes and what albums are nominated, except this time because I forgot. You can find the link in our show notes. And of course, we have a Patreon. You can back us from as little as $1 a month, and you get early access to our episodes, access to our bonus episodes, and that warm, fuzzy feeling inside that you're helping us spread the flawless love. You can find us at patreon.com/flawlessamp.
It's such a fuzzy feeling that I support our own Patreon.
And you didn't mention the cap, Liam, again.
Oh, yeah, sorry. There is a hard cap on Patreons of 1 million, I think. So,
It's 1 million.
yeah, getting quick because we're
Sure.
nearly up there. So,
Wow. That's the
you don't want to miss that
No,
opportunity.
you don't want to miss out.
This afternoon, this evening, whenever you are listening to the podcast, we have a guest.
Yes.
Hello.
Love a guest.
Love
Hi.
a great guest. Would you
Love
like to
a
introduce
guest.
yourself?
Hi, yes, my name is Josie. Thank you, Grant, for inviting me on the podcast. Twitter follower, which is horrible to think about, but my name is Josie. By day, I am a victimologist who is mapping clergy pedophile rings. Very fun. And at
Wow.
night, I'm a podcaster, shamefully. I have 2 podcasts. One is called A Hill to Die On, and the other is called Australian Gothic. Listen if you want. I'm not going to sell it anymore.
Cool.
That's exciting. And now you got on
Wow.
another podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just can't get enough.
I can't. And the audacity of someone who listens to the same 5 songs on repeat coming onto a music podcast, it's very bold.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So where can people find out about the podcast that you are on more regularly than this one?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find me on Twitter at JSSPCR1.
Fantastic.
Welcome.
Welcome
Thank you
to
very much.
What an
Flawless.
intro. That's a very
Yeah.
interesting... Wow. That's what you do.
That's a heavy job. That's
Yeah.
heavy. No wonder your podcast.
Yeah. Got to get it out somewhere.
Wow.
Would you like to tell us what album you're nominating today?
Yes, today I am nominating the album by Connie Converse, How Sad, How Lovely.
In between 2 tall mountains, there's a place they call lonesome. Don't see why they call it lonesome. I'm never lonesome when I go there. See that bird sitting on my windowsill? Well, he's saying whippoorwill all the night through. See that brook running by my kitchen door? Well, it couldn't talk no more if it was you.
Nice.
There
Nice
you
work.
go.
Well done.
Yep. Is this where I leave silent?
Yeah, we did that bit already. So normally this is where the bit where I'd read out the first line from the Wikipedia entry of the album, but the album itself doesn't have a Wikipedia entry. So Elizabeth Eaton Converse was born August 3rd, 1924 and disappeared August 1974, which we will talk about. Known professionally as Connie Converse, was an American singer-songwriter and musician, active in New York City in the 50s, and her work is among the earliest known recordings in the singer-songwriter genre of music.
Yeah.
So, Josie, how did you discover Connie
How?
Converse?
How?
Yeah.
I was
Come
just
on.
listening to, I was feeling really adventurous one day and I put radio on Spotify of one of my 5 songs that I listened to.
Can you share us what the 5 songs are?
Oh, no, I forgot them all now.
It'll come.
It'll come.
Sure.
But then I heard this song and I just loved this woman's voice. And I was like, holy crap, who is this broad? I need to find out more about her. And then I Googled her and it turns out she is a missing person.
Oh, no.
And that her songs were recorded in the 50s and 60s and wasn't released until I think aired on a radio station in 2004. And then people were like, oh, and things have sort of picked up since then. It was I was listening to it and I was like, okay, I gotta, it was, the music itself was really beautiful. It got my attention. Then I read her story and then I just had some time to myself, and I sat down and like for the first time in years, I just sat and listened to a whole album from start to finish, which is very rare for me.
Yeah.
And I kind of, it's a nice album in its own right, flawless, one may say. And but like I feel like this like sadness sort of imbues the whole album because she's missing, which again we'll talk about later.
Yeah, there's that sense all the way through it.
Yeah.
So the album was released in March 2009.
I was going to say it was 2009, I thought, yeah.
Yeah. So, George, had you ever heard of Connie Converse when Josie dropped her name in the group chat?
No, I've not heard the name, not heard the album, not heard the songs, but listening, it felt very familiar.
Yeah.
I think it's a good description, for sure.
Like maybe literally almost 90% of the artists we listen to today.
Yeah, well, there was elements of Joni Mitchell and there's elements of Laura Marling. So, like, we're spanning decades here. But yeah, like her coming out and recording this in the 50s and being like, yeah, it was, I'd not heard of it before.
Cool. Grant?
No.
Same question.
Same question, same answer, certainly an element of familiarity. And I read the same Wikipedia thing. I didn't search for the album, I just searched for Connie Converse. I was like, wow, this is like an amazing story, right? Just incredible. And it's like the lost tapes.
Yes.
Like, just disappear, like someone like what is random series of events get to an album in 2009 being released, you know? So
Yeah.
cool.
And
Very
Liam?
cool.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Never heard of her. Feel ashamed to my core that I'd never heard of her. Like this is
to your core.
These are the kind of people that I should know about. Like I've got a huge musical knowledge.
You do.
You know,
You
not
do.
as much as some, but more than others.
More than
And
most,
and
I would suggest.
read this description as like, you know, potentially the first singer-songwriter, not just
Yeah.
woman singer-songwriter, first singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
It's like my entire music library is singer-songwriters or singer-songwriters in charge of bands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? Yeah, how did I not have no one ever heard? How have I never heard of this woman before?
So it's thanks to Spotify and yourself.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you say that. It's like, how have I not heard this person? Because it's like, I don't know if there's like a name for it, but it's like there are definitely artists who maybe weren't as famous in their time, but it was sort of like proto, you know, they sort of influenced a lot of artists today. But it's Connie Converse, even though there are so many elements that are so familiar, seems like she wasn't very, like, so she was very much in like the Greenwich Village kind of scene in New York, but like she just struggled to kind of gain any traction, and it seemed like some suggest like maybe she was just a little too early for her time or didn't know the right people or
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, but that's even the thing normally is if like, if someone like, I may not have listened to them stuff directly, but I'll know bands who name check, you know, you should check this album out when they do interviews, or, you know, what are you listening to right now, or what influenced you? And even that I haven't heard. So I don't know whether it's, they don't talk about it, or it's like an influence of an influence of an influence, and it goes back 4 levels. So they don't even realize that they're being influenced by her. So.
Yeah.
So she was raised as a strict Baptist.
Oh no.
And by going into a musical career and getting into smoking and drinking, her family turned their back on her. Like her father turned her back. Her father actually never heard her sing in her entire career. Whereas she became very depressed, and so her friends pulled together some money to send her to England to see if she could that would cheer her up, but she didn't go. She instead, her mother took her to Alaska on a holiday, but that actually worsened her mood. She was then told that she needed a hysterectomy, and she was devastated by that, which is when she wrote letters to family and friends with the intention of starting a new life somewhere. But her brother Philip has assumed that she's taken her own life, but other people said that they'd found her in phone books under her original name. But there was no sightings of her.
Was it the case that it was sort of like her car was sort of found abandoned or something like that? I can't quite recall, but it was like oh, maybe she just still went off and had this new life. And it's like, from what I've read, it's like, oh, I'm pretty sure like this person, like she probably died by suicide, which is unfortunate, of course, and devastating. But especially I had no idea about the whole hysterectomy thing, and, you know, that's,
But there were questions about the fact that she was probably a lesbian, because she never had any romantic relationships in her time. Like all of her friends said that she never had. So all of her songs where she writes about relationships and men and women together and having a partner and everything is all completely fabricated. Because she'd never actually had a partner of her own. And she was like in her 50s when she disappeared.
Yeah, right. Okay. And there was no records of her living with a particular lovely woman friend or anything.
Yeah, like gal pals running a shop off together or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, she even
Wasn't it? Yeah, nothing that I found.
not that I saw.
Wow.
no,
not
she even
the
has a
thing.
song about living alone.
Oh.
Like there's a whole song which is
Yeah,
all about
we'll get to it in a minute, but it's like, yeah.
the solo. So it was a tribute came out to her in the 2000s, and it featured Karen O
Oh, wow.
and Mike Patton from Faith No More, and also Petra Hayden from the Decemberists. And then in 2021, there was a documentary about her called Talking Like Her. So have you seen that?
No, I did not know about this, nor that it was released. That's exciting.
Yeah, so now we're all going to have to watch it.
Yeah. And there's also, I'll put a link in the show notes. There's a really good piece in the New Yorker by Howard Fishman, who also wrote a play based on her life.
What?
And the article, that's where I got, if not Wikipedia page, that's where I got some of this other information
okay.
from today. So I'll put the link in the show notes because, So in the 50s, she was living in New York. She starts calling herself Connie. She's beginning writing songs and performing just for friends. She doesn't even go and play live anyway. She's just playing them for friends. And like that's where I think you can tell some of these recordings are like this her sitting in her living room with like someone. I think that you hear a man's voice a couple of times just like talking like he's going to hit record or something. But she's just playing into a 2-track or whatever. Her only known public performance was a television appearance in 1954 on the morning show. And then that was it.
Do we know if there are any has that footage been saved? Do we know? Or?
I don't know. I didn't
see
chase
that.
it to see where it was. But
Ooh,
so
lost media.
by 61, so the year that Bob Dylan moved to Greenwich Village and became famous, she was already sick and tired of trying to sell her music and not getting anywhere.
Done.
So 61, she moved to Michigan, became a secretary and a writer for the Journal of Conflict Resolution.
Oh, yeah.
And then by that point,
Namely.
she'd stopped writing new songs.
Yeah.
So she just was like, selling the music isn't working for me. And obviously, like the walls that must have been put up against her as like a woman trying to get ahead in that game that barely existed at all, but was definitely a men's game, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And then in 1974, just after her 50th birthday, she disappeared.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So just an amazing life, and just listening to the recordings, you can feel it that coming through. And there is that bit of sadness of knowing where she ended up, and hopefully she was a bit happier when she was putting them to music, and recording. Like this was her only set of recordings.
Yeah.
And then
I don't recall. It wasn't in one go. These are separate independent
Yeah,
sets
yeah.
from separate sessions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
so they were collected from a friend in Prague.
Yeah.
What?
A friend in Prague, Dietz, I think his name was.
I don't know that one.
And so he had some of the recordings, and he was like a designer friend. And then her brother Philip had the other tapes, so they were collated from different places and put together into this album.
Yes.
It's like a beautiful collage, and I guess I can kind of see that on the album art for this. Yeah, the album. It's like it's got a portrait of her and some like paint and obviously cut and pasted flowers and stuff. So I guess that kind of reflects how it was put together as well.
Yeah.
So Squirrel Thing Recordings in 2015 put an album out, 18-track vinyl, in partnership with Captured Tracks. Got lots of really good reviews. Lots of people very excited about it. Robert Forster from the Go-Betweens said he described the album making a deep and marvelous connection between lyric and song that allows us to enter the world of an extraordinary woman living in mid-20th century New York.
Yeah.
So really cool to see him get on board. So you spoke about the song that she's all alone, and I think that's the first song on the album.
Yeah, so that would have been the one I heard first.
Right.
That kind of sparked my interest.
Yeah. So Talking Like You, Two Tall Mountains. So it's just you've got that sound on the front of like someone hitting record and saying, you know, I think she's even talking like, I'm just going to go. And he's like, yeah, you just go. And then, and off she goes, which is really cool. Like just that feeling of what it was like, the recording is like, I think like you can instantly picture her just sitting in the room with a guitar, just singing it straight into a microphone and playing it into a microphone, which would be really cool.
It's got she sings quite quickly, the lyrics.
Up that tree, there's sort of a squirrel thing. Sounds just like we did when we were quarreling. You may think you left me all alone, but I can hear you talk without a telephone.
And I like that imagery of I can just hear you without a telephone. Just like, it was really nice.
It's really sweet. Yeah. But it's also interesting. I'm kind of thinking about the fact that she wasn't known to have any love interests. So I wonder where she was pulling this from.
Yeah, I guess like listening to some songs in there about romance and stuff, it's I guess a very traditional concept of romance. So I guess that she just picked it up from the music that was probably around at the time, and Johnny and, you know, boys and girls and that sort of stuff. So
Johnny's brother, bud.
Johnny's brother.
What was Johnny's brother doing?
He was being a bad boy. Did you not instantly get a picture the moment she said Johnny's? I was like, yeah, like leather, like John Travolta in Grease, but like not the hokey kind of version, like the actual bad boy kind of version.
Bad boy.
Yeah.
Johnny Bravo, maybe?
Yeah.
But she tricks you into making it seem like she's talking to the two brothers and she's with Johnny and his brother, and you think that his brother's going to come and whisk her away.
Yeah. She doesn't end up with the bad boy.
And yet she doesn't happen. I'm like,
No, he ends up with the baby on his knee. Like when they're merrily living their happy married life.
Sorry, Johnny.
So, so it's just you get the impression that it's going to be the brother. He's getting close, like he's in different cities and he's getting closer and closer. He runs into town, and then you're like, what's going to happen now? And it's like nothing. We lived merrily, happily for years.
Yeah. When they, because she says Johnny's brother holds the baby on his knee. Do you think that's the brother's baby or Johnny and her's baby?
Oh no, this adds a twist.
Yeah,
there's so many layers.
I thought it was Johnny and her's baby, and he's gone, hey, give me my niece or nephew, and I'll bounce him on my knee. And she's like, he's a bad boy, but he's also a good dad. This could work. But you were saying just then that you think it's Johnny's brother's baby.
I just think it's sweet. I just think it's like, I think she's tricking you into thinking that she's going to have an affair with the brother, but then
I thought so.
But then it doesn't, and it's actually just quite sweet in the end.
Yes, because she says I love Johnny and I love Johnny well and he loves me. So it's never like that thing of like he's the bad boy and I'm stuck in a loveless relationship with a nice guy and I really wish I could be over there. It's like no, we're happy together, but there's also this guy over there as well.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's really lovely.
And then that goes into, so that we're just going through at the start if everyone's listening. Roving woman. So cool. Just like going out, doing unladylike things. Like this is that push away from the, I'm in a happy relationship with Johnny. And this is just like, no, I go out, I do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, but she's always brought home before she does anything bad.
Yes.
Men come and swoop in and save her.
Yeah. Swoop in and save her.
Well, do they go home with her?
But then...
Yeah.
Like,
because she says...
Are they just taking her home? Or are they staying at home with her?
No, they're taking her home to... She's like, no, I'm okay with skipping the other stuff I was about to do if I go home with you and we get down. So she says, don't know why they always do it. Can't be vanity, must be sheer humanity. When some kind soul remarks with great urbanity, lady, let me take you home. So it's like he's offering it in the moment of like, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to save you from this bad thing you're about to do. But she knows also other bad things are going to happen when they go home. And she's okay with that. Like, it's just, And
at the end, she says that when she goes out to do these things, she hopes there's a guy out there to take her.
Yeah. She knows what she wants.
Yeah.
Which, again, so wild, thinking that, maybe she was a queer woman, but also, like, I don't know, I also think about her Baptist upbringing, and it's like, I'm sure she very much felt put into a box.
Conflicted, I would
Yeah.
think. Like, how challenging with that sort of right upbringing, and then you might have different feelings.
Yeah.
Josie, what were some of your favorite songs on the album? It's got lots of tracks.
Yeah,
I won't say it's a long
yeah.
album. It's
Yeah.
only about 45
So,
minutes or so
yeah.
because
40.
40 minutes.
say it's
Yeah,
not-
because she just gets in, does the idea, and gets out. And she's
Yeah.
just playing a guitar on her own. She doesn't have a lot of places to go each
No.
song.
Exactly.
I'm just going to play my idea, cool rhythm, cool melody, heartbreaking lyrics, and I'm out.
So there are two songs that like I listen to. They enter my rotation quite heavily often. The first one is Father Neptune, which again feels like a very fabricated idea of love. It's this guy on the sea that he only needs a wife on shore, which is her, and she says to Father Neptune that she'll sing to him as long as he keeps this man safe, but also she knows deep down that he doesn't need her. But she needs to pretend, which I thought was sweet. But that one definitely felt like this is not pulling on anything from her lived experience, I don't think.
No, because her lyrics in that one are, so she's not singing to God, she's singing to Father Neptune as the god of the sea.
Yeah.
And she says,
I sing to the god with the three-pronged rod and the whiskers wild and free, that I've got a man with a beard and a tan and a passion for the sea.
it's
really
good.
fun.
It's really good imagery.
Yeah.
I really love it. It's a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah. Like, I really enjoyed singing along to that one.
And I don't know, I'm not very good with like music terminology, but I like the sort of, there's like a climb it's like it sounds sea shanty-ish in that little bit where she sings to Father Neptune, and I really like that.
And this is one, so a lot of the tracks start with the hiss of a tape or them talking about her recording or something like that. But Father Neptune actually sounds like a deliberate recording.
Yeah.
So it's
interesting.
It actually starts at the beginning.
Right.
It doesn't have like 3 seconds of hiss. It starts at the beginning, and it sounds like she actually sat down and recorded that particular song. And it's only 2 minutes long, but it was one that it was noticeable that it was an actual deliberate recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my second one was Empty Pocket Waltz. So I'm partial to songs that talk of like carving out joy despite obviously like there being poor material conditions otherwise. Like I'm very much into Yiddish union songs in particular. And like
I don't think I've ever heard of any of those.
oh my goodness, I'll come back on
There we
anytime
go.
and
You should
talk
have
about
nominated a
them.
different album. Come on.
Gladly. But there are some lyrics in this song that sort of speak to that a little bit. So when she says,
We paid the doctor his fee, and we're free to be free. Come now and waltz the empty pocket waltz with me.
I don't know, there's something about the joyfulness and the jauntiness in that song that kind of reminds me of James Oppenheim's Bread and Roses poem, which says, yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. So the thing that I gathered from the lyrics in this song was like they're very poor, but they've just made rent, but they still want to go out and dance and have dinner and be free because you may as well. I don't know, I just really like it.
It's lovely, and it's got really beautiful guitar riffs
Yes.
in that one too.
Yeah.
Like she plays lovely guitar, but in some of them she like really like plays around with the instrument a lot more.
Yeah.
And in Empty Pocket Waltz there is really good guitar riffs.
Just that working class song. I just go straight to Springsteen when I hear like working class songs.
Yeah.
Just like, and his are always about the fatality of it. Like it's just we're stuck in it, we'll never get out of it. It doesn't matter what you do, you can never escape it.
Yes.
But this was more like, we did it, we achieved it. It could be worse.
No, he doesn't. It's not always like that.
He is
man.
always like that. That's the
Atlantic
fatality
City is
of
not
it.
like that.
He is.
Atlantic City is not about that. But
It
it's close.
absolutely
One
is.
out of
Atlantic City is the worst of those ones. So he may have other ones where he's not like that, but Atlantic City is the worst of them.
Okay, we can agree to disagree. It won't be the first time.
Bless your little cotton socks.
Yeah. Grant, anything?
Hey,
Grant
I'll
has a
tell you.
system with ticks and double ticks. So
Clover Saloon, come on.
Clover Saloon, so good.
Hey,
It was on
really
the on the
good.
front there. Kind of, she's just like,
She just wants to have a beer, man.
yeah, just wants to have a beer. Just come on, please just have a beer.
You know,
Real country sounding.
Yeah, that's why I was like, she's just she's just got one guitar. That's all she like. It could probably be the same guitar she's playing every single time. She doesn't have a variety of sounds. She's not using pedals. It's just one guitar. She's plugged into something. If we're lucky, she might just be playing into an open mic. But she's always got just like the little, so there's folk and there's country and there's a little bit of Americana in there and like the haunting stuff and the upbeat stuff. But yeah, this is the country song.
And yeah, it's a first-hand account of that cowhand. And yeah, all he wants is that beer and he ends up getting hanged for it.
Who's among us would not do that to get a brew? So.
Yeah. But there's bassy notes as well. So the way she plays is she's like hitting the bass note and strumming the rest and making that real like difference, like that really nice sound.
Yeah.
But that one's got a bit of a trick in there as well because she's like, oh, I've been kicked out of the bar. It's so unfair. And you're almost on her side, like, oh yeah, I bet she was kicked out for no reason. I was called something I hate and I reacted. Oh yeah, no, that's really terrible. I threw something at him and I missed. Oh, that doesn't sound so bad. And then I shot him instead. Okay, no, now I know why you were thrown out.
That's giving me like I don't know, mercy scene vibes where it's like, oh yeah, maybe this guy, maybe he's fine and he's a bad dude.
bad person. Yourself, Liam?
I really love. I'm gonna have to bring it up. Man in the Sky.
Oh,
So it's a bit of a longer one.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. It's the long one. Yeah, I think there's like two that go over 4 minutes, and that's about it. So it's about this girl who falls, like, she's just sick of men around her. So she looks up into the sky and she can see a man up there and she falls in love. But she travels through the stars in heavens for him. But then even then, he's still just a man. So he just doesn't appreciate the stuff that she's given up. So
she was a lesbian, guys.
yeah, it's becoming clearer.
as we unpick it, yeah.
So yeah, so it's got the lyrics.
She found Orion at last, and then she found he was just like other men. When on his shoulder her head she'd lay, his eye was a million miles away.
So even just that one, like, she was sick of men on Earth because they had wandering eyes, and she found a man in the stars and lifted her life up to him, and then found that even he wouldn't actually pay attention to her.
To be fair, he's looking over literally every woman on Earth.
I got real Laura Marling vibes on that one.
Yeah.
Cool. That was just like the storytelling and the way the instruments were, like, it just, yeah, the way she was singing. I got some, because she had range, so she likes to go down low sometimes, and then she has these really high pitched moments. And so she mixes it up within one song, which is like sounds lovely. But I really love Playboy of the Western World.
So cool.
Yeah.
So that riffing guitar intro, and then she sings "Spring seemed to linger like the little bunch of flowers he pressed into my hand." Just like nice imagery.
Nice. But I think there's a twist on that one too, because normally when you call someone a playboy, you think, oh, yeah, he's a bit of a bad boy, he's doing whatever. But her thing is that he ran around making other people's dreams come true and died young.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe the playboy is about, getting around lots of different people, but she doesn't think he's a bad person.
No. She's really into this one.
Yeah.
Like, it's like nice. And and he does a nice thing for her. So it's a good one. But John Brady.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
a sad one.
sweet melody, twiddles and strums on the guitar. And it's got some lyrics of
Somebody else said, lady, be mine. I've got a house with a flowering vine. I'll take you out to faraway shores, and everything I have is yours.
Which is lovely.
Yeah. But then he's talking, it's all about, I'll love a lady till I die. But then now he's 6 feet under. So it's like mission accomplished. I loved her till I died.
Yeah. John.
That's a bit disappointing. Yeah.
And she, but she managed to, she tells that entire story in a minute 47.
Yeah. She's so good at just creating.
Yeah.
I don't know whether, like, it's because she's using it on characters now that we recognize really well. And she probably did from the storytelling of her time as well. And then just giving them that little twist and setting them up really easily.
Yeah, that's true. But I think We Lived Alone was the one that I was talking about earlier. That's the one which is like solo living, the dream, and like just her in the house.
Yes.
And then it's just her in the house, and she's just very happy.
Yeah.
Just her in the house.
Yeah.
And she does her high-pitched vocals, but she sings in the major, and then she ends her final note on the minor. And it's like, why have you done that? Like, why have you done your final one just like on the minor when the rest of the song has been quite chipper?
Yeah.
So maybe she is solemn after all.
Maybe she's like, I just sang this real happy song, but guys, it sucks. Like, I don't know.
That one's got the twist at the end as well. So the very end of the song is, my wants were few, they were until I wanted you, and when I set my eyes on you, nothing else would do, nothing else would do. So it's kind of like, I was happy alone until I met you, and now I'm not happy alone anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why she ends on the minor.
Yeah, that's it, because like, damn it, your presence has made me annoyed.
You've taken away my happiness and solitude.
By existing.
Damn you.
Yeah.
By existing. So Josie, in terms of the album itself, so you heard it on Spotify. You take a chance, right? Spotify, radio, let's go.
Yeah.
The song comes up. You're like, yes. You then go to Spotify and listen to the whole album and just go, it's flawless?
Yeah, I do.
Pretty much?
Yeah, I think, although I will say, I don't think you can, once you find out her story.
Yes, and that's where I wanted to
you
go.
can separate it.
Yeah, so did you find the story after you listened to the album?
No, I only had heard one song before I Googled her, and then I was like,
okay.
oh shit. And that's when I listened to it. And so I think with the context of it, I think it's a flawless album, but I can't say how I would feel about it if I didn't know her story.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think because of the industry you work in, it's added more relevance to the story and the album?
I haven't even thought about that. I guess I'd say probably, I think, yeah, that's interesting. I think that I can't help but think of how alone she was feeling, and like all the rejection she had from her father, and then like not making it in New York, and also as a queer woman, like, you know, if she was queer, then all those feelings of isolation, and even in New York, being queer wasn't a particularly friendly place.
Not in the 50s.
No, not at all. And so, yeah, I think that all of these things has influenced how I feel about the album. But I could definitely see an argument to be made that, like, if you listen to it just by itself, it would be like, I've listened to this before. So
sure. Yeah. It needs the story, because without that, I've heard, you know, the musicians that I do love and listen to, I can see what they've drawn from this, and, you know, that's where I am. But knowing that it's like the first one,
yes,
it makes a huge difference.
Yes.
There is a song which is 39 seconds long.
A Little Out of Love.
A Little Out of Love.
Yeah.
Unknown.
It's so awesome. I might just drop the whole thing in there.
Yeah.
This is the beauty of an album like this, where if it was an album that was being constructed and crafted, you wouldn't put this in. But this isn't an album like that. This is an album where people are just like, whoever is behind it is just gone, everyone needs to hear everything she ever did.
Yeah.
So if I can make it the quality, you know, I'm sure they've done some post-production and mixing and stuff.
Must have, sure.
But if I can get it clean enough to put on the album, I'll put on the album. Doesn't matter what it is. And that's what they've done with this song.
Yeah, because it's got them talking at the beginning, and so you know there's an audience, and at the end there's 4 seconds of just silence. So the actual song must only be like 27 seconds long.
Yeah.
But it really reminded me of Kimia Dawson of the Moldy Peaches. It had that kind of vibe. It's when she starts singing, that's the only words I can think of.
Yeah. So she literally performs the whole, like she's talking to someone and he's like, "Yep, go." So she performs it.
She performs
and then
it
stops and then goes, "Well, that's all I've got."
Yeah, she starts by saying like it's first the chorus, that's it.
Yeah.
And then ends it with that's the only words I
That's
can
all
think
I
of.
can think of.
Yeah.
I can't help but think of if any of you folks have watched Parks and Recreation.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the dude built old mate builds his claymation thing, and it's just like he's like, I've worked on this for days or weeks, and it's like
Yeah.
8 seconds. If that. It's just like, yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, it reminded me, there's a song on, I don't know if you guys Brand Van 3000. And they've got a song on one of their albums where it's like, you can hear them talking about it beforehand. And they've obviously just recorded a thing where they're mucking around. And she's like, they're like trying to figure out how they're going to start. And then eventually one's just like, "Look, I'm just going to start. You guys come in when you're ready." And you can hear that as the opening line to the song. And then they start playing guitar. And then the rest of the guitars come in over the top. Like, they're obviously trying to discuss how to get on the rhythm together. And she's like, "I'll just start and you guys can join in." Wouldn't work for a normal song, but they've just like thrown in there because it's fun.
How about Trouble, guys?
How about
Trouble. So he's into her and she's troubled but wants him to talk to about her troubles. So she sings,
But if you go away, as trouble ought to do, where will I find another soul to tell my trouble to?
Lyric Buddies.
yeah.
So Lyric Buddies when we write down exactly the same lyrics from a song. So yeah, Lyric Buddies on that one. That one's cool.
And again, that's under a minute and a half. That it's just like a really nice song, really nice story. Like she could tell a story in 2 minutes. It's really lovely. And then it finishes on, "I have considered the lilies," which is that really loving kind of like admiring the flowers and how they live their lives by sun and by moon, and they don't take up too much space.
Oh, I've got goosebumps.
Yeah, and
beautiful.
they bloom, and that's their lives. And she's contemplating the simple life of being a lily, and she actually names like 5 different types of lily. And she says, and not to forget Lily of the Valley. And so she names the color and everything, and it's just really sweet. And she has like a whole concept, or you could think about any flower or any object or thing that just exists that you want to be like, but she has painted this beautiful picture, and you can just listen to it and you can see lilies in front of you when you're listening to it, because she's painting that picture so beautifully.
Yeah, that's a talent.
Because in that one she says, "I'm handing over my pencil and pen. I won't be needing my broom again. I'll bloom by day, I'll bloom by night, and blooming will be my delight." So just that's all I'm going to do, and I hand over, earthly, humanly things and get rid of them and just be a flower. Which is just that idea of like, human beings are one of the only creatures on the planet that got like that self-awareness of like knowing we exist in a space. And for her, it's like there's no value in that for her at all. She's like, no, I'd just rather not have that awareness. It would be so much easier. And it sounds like it would have been easier for her if she just didn't have
For
that.
sure, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, against the context of what we know,
Yeah.
it would have been. I mean, it adds a lot more relevance to it. Huh?
Yeah.
Wouldn't have had it easy.
No. Any other thoughts before we might throw to Josie for a final pitch? Josie, you got anything else you want to throw in there?
No, that's it for me.
Cool.
But there's just how sad, how lovely.
Oh, yeah,
this
the
song
title
is.
track, yeah.
The title track. Talking of lovers, but it's just lots of observations of things, and it's just a really nice tune. And I think the actual title of How Sad, How Lovely is just a really good title.
It is a nice title.
It's a great encapsulation of her.
Wow.
Yeah, so like no wonder they named the album that after that song. But yeah, it was just like when you first nominated it in the group chat, I was like, That's a really lovely name of an album. Like, how sad, how lovely. So I'm gonna start saying that quite often. I think I'll just be with my partner and he'll do something else saying, "How sad, how lovely," and he'll have no idea what I'm talking about. There's no
I have
context
to
to
play
him
him some
whatsoever.
songs. He might like this album.
Yeah, he might like it. It's quite.
Maybe.
It's in his
Folky.
wheelhouse.
Yeah.
He doesn't really. I mean, but his wheelhouse not really a big house.
Pretty
wheel.
small, yeah. Wheel,
Like, not really a
wheel.
wheel box, maybe.
It's
Yeah.
a spoke.
Wheel.
Yeah, like maybe a spoke. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not Dire Straits though.
No, it's not Dire Straits. Alrighty. Josie, did you want to give us your final pitch for How Sad, How Lovely being a flawless album?
Yeah, so How Sad, How Lovely by Connie Converse. I argue that this is a flawless album as long as you know her story beforehand, and I guess think of her as you're listening to it, and I think it becomes a flawless album. I think for what she has and just her voice and her guitar, I think she's very talented. The lyrics are very simple and sweet and they're very evocative without being too wordy. If it can get someone who refuses to listen to new music to sit down and listen to a whole album, start to finish, I argue that maybe you should give it a go to.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's why it's flawless.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Grant, we'll throw over to you. Final thoughts on Connie Converse and a thumbs up or a thumbs
Well,
down?
we're not going to talk that we've sort of bent the rules
I
of
would-
the
I would-
original.
Do you want me to talk? Well, do you want me to go first? Because I've got a thing that's based around the breaking of the rules.
I hope you all know that whether or not you think this album is flawless is a direct opinion. Like, it reflects your opinion of me as a person.
Directly correlated.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like-
So I will be shattered.
See, what happens normally is people don't tell us that. They just get very cranky with us after we say no.
Oh no, I'm putting it on the table.
Okay, you heard it all here first.
All right, I'll
Please.
go first.
Well, I'd love you to because
Because-
you've broken your own
Josie,
carnal.
we do have some rules around what can and can't be nominated.
Oh.
And this album sits slightly outside it in that it wasn't a group of songs that an artist or a group sat down together and were like, this is an album of things we want to do, and put it out there as this is the album we are creating. Obviously, it was put together after she'd probably passed, and it was put out not by her, so it was by somebody else, which I also normally have a problem with.
Okay.
Because I don't like posthumously released stuff, because I'm always like, if the person wanted it out there, they'd have put it out there. They thought it wasn't finished, don't put it out there.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. None of that matters with this album at all. And the scale that we usually use to judge on albums doesn't apply to this album at all. So it's, like you said, it's beautiful guitar work, beautiful songs. If it was just an album that someone had put out like this, I probably would say, no, it's not flawless. It feels rough and not quite finished. And there's like a half song on there that's like, what? That's really weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Like
correct.
there'd be questions about all that. But for this album and this story, all that doesn't matter. And so, yeah, that's why we thought, yes, we'll just accept, that you can nominate it and we'll read up
But you
and
didn't know
listen to
that
it.
going in. You just
No, so
Okay.
Josie posted in the chat, and then
Yeah,
I
and
was
you
like,
looked.
oh, and I looked on the Wikipedia page, and I saw that it was a compilation. And I was like, oh, that's a little, and then I read the first 2 paragraphs of the Wikipedia entry, and I was like,
Salt.
nah, I'm done. This
Yeah.
like, I don't know who this is. People like me with my level of musical knowledge should know who this is.
Sure.
And if us talking about it helps more people find it, then
Yeah.
100% I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
And now having listened to it, same again. If my calling it flawless means that someone might check it out who wouldn't otherwise, then I got to do it.
yeah,
So it's flawless for me.
flawless.
Yeah, I'm giving
Done.
it a thumbs up.
There we go.
Wow. Okay.
Grant, final thoughts and a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Final thoughts. I probably the first time. So it's very familiar. You listen, put it in.
Yeah.
Listen. Then you look up what's this Connie Converse all about, right? And we've gone over that. And standing here listening to having that appreciation for the context of the compilation and what it entails, and that there's nothing offensive for me like standing out like, no, I could say half a song and there's some background introductions, etc., and the noise of another guy. I could listen to this again quite easily and be very happy.
Yeah.
And I've learned about this lady who's an incredible person who unfortunately no one's heard of. So I've changed my mind. I wasn't like this at the beginning of this. Flawless.
Nice.
flawless.
Thumbs up from Grant.
Thumbs up.
George.
Still in my good books. Good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that part of it. No, but I did have a squiggle here. And I was like, unknown, but
Yeah.
a bit,
Yeah.
but it's contextual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George,
Final
Hello.
not
thoughts.
that there's any pressure.
Thumbs up or
Final
thumbs
thoughts.
down.
Oh, I know. So much pressure. So, I had a problem with it coming out posthumously because it didn't feel like it was her album. And I felt like if she wanted to make the album, she would have done. Like in her time of writing these songs, she could have put them, because she did have other albums, like they obviously didn't sell. So I actually was like, when I heard the album, I was like, it's a really good album, and then I read up about it. So I actually listened first and went, oh, this is in my wheelhouse. But then I felt that it was very intimate, the way it was recorded with friends, that I felt like I was trespassing on her history.
Yeah, I can see that.
But like, yeah, which was like, so it was like, obviously it was like an unproduced album, and it was almost like, on the one hand, I felt like I was going against her wishes because she left these recordings with people and then she disappeared herself. But then thinking about it further, she gave up on her life and gave up on her career because she wasn't getting recognition. And we are now giving her that recognition.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong by acknowledging her work and listening to this epic album, which is 40 minutes long, but 18 tracks.
For a given definition of epic.
Yeah, so I no longer, especially talking to us between us all now, I don't actually feel like I'm doing anything wrong by listening to it.
Yeah.
I'm actually recognizing her for who she was and for what she produced and the music that she's created. And so even without the context of who she was, it's a flawless album from start to finish, and it's something that I've been playing quite a lot, and I've had little sing-alongs too. So I came in here thinking that I couldn't give it a flawless because it was going against her wishes.
Yeah.
But actually,
Interesting, eh?
but now I'm thinking, like, if she were out there, she'd go, gosh, people are finally recognizing me, and how times have changed.
Yeah. Oh,
so-
yeah. Sorry, that was the sound of me getting goosebumps.
No.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you plonk this album as a release now, and she was still around to celebrate it, then I'd be a lot happier. But the album itself is 18 tracks, and I love the 36-second one. So anyway, that was a long-winded way of saying I think it's a flawless album.
Aw,
Nice.
So glad you all like.
So there we go. 3
Well
thumbs
done.
up. So yeah, thank you very much for bringing the album. That was really
Thank you.
great. And it was, like I said, if anyone out there is thinking about it, please
Have a
check it
listen.
out. Have a listen. Help share it to other people. I know we say that all the time, but I think, she's definitely unrecognized and she should not be. So
That's probably the reason why we all feel this way. I suppose you changed your mind in this here, and I changed my mind in this episode. So
Yeah.
cool. And we want to thank everybody for listening. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we are Flawless AMP on all of those. So you can join the conversation, share or like our posts, and give us a rating. Every little bit helps us find more music lovers like you. As mentioned, we also have a Patreon at patreon.com/flawlessamp. If you'd like to back us, please check that out. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Tell